It was evening when two planes carrying 349 people were heading toward each other in the sky above Delhi. One plane was about to land at Delhi airport, while the other had just taken off from Delhi. Both planes' pilots were receiving instructions from the same air traffic controller, and a 1,000-foot altitude difference had been maintained between them. But something went wrong. The planes that were supposed to cross each other with a 1,000-foot separation collided mid-flight. Where did the mistake occur, and who was responsible? When both pilots were receiving instructions from the air traffic controller and adequate distance was maintained between them, how did they collide in such vast airspace? This is the tragic story of an accident that the world today knows as the worst mid-air collision. Welcome once again to ZMTV Videos. Viewers, did you know that every passing minute, there are 15,000 to 25,000 planes in the sky? According to Flight Radar, if we talk about total flights, more than 100,000 flights land worldwide daily. This raises the question, if there are so many planes in the sky at all times, why don't they collide with each other? The answer lies in air traffic controllers and airways in the sky. Just as there are highways on land, there are also imaginary airways in the sky. Air traffic controllers organize planes on these airways, each with different rules. For example, the airway named 68 Mauritanian Uguias connects Europe to Asia. On this airway, flights heading east, from Europe to Dubai, then India and China, are kept at odd-numbered altitudes, such as 35,000 feet, 37,000 feet, and 39,000 feet. On the same airway, traffic heading west, back to Europe, is given even-numbered altitudes, such as 34,000, 36,000, and 38,000 feet. These altitude instructions are given to pilots by the air traffic controller, ATC, in that region. This way, thousands of planes use these airways' flight levels at all times, safely crossing each other with 1,000 or 2,000 foot separations, and this is completely routine. But on the evening of November 12, 1996, what happened above the Indian city of Delhi that caused two planes full of passengers to collide? One plane was Kazakhstan Airlines Aviation 76, which had taken off from Shymkent International Airport, Kazakhstan, at 3:55 p.m. Indian time. After approximately 3.5 hours of flight, it was to land at Delhi International Airport. This was a chartered flight carrying 27 passengers and 10 crew members. These people were traders traveling to India for business. On the other hand, a Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 had just landed at Delhi Airport at that time. It was to board passengers again and depart for Jeddah at 6 p.m. It was mostly carrying Indian laborers who worked in that Arab country. The Saudi plane had a total of 312 people on board, including 289 passengers and 23 crew members. If you look at it, these two flights had probably never seen each other. Their origins were different, and their destinations were different. But what did the 349 people on board know that in the next few hours, they would collide with each other in the most horrific manner in this vast airspace? After about 2.5 hours, at 6:23 p.m., Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 had reached Lanka Waypoint. Waypoints work just like intersections or roundabouts on roads. Where airways coming from different directions cross each other, that point is called a waypoint. It's an imaginary point where planes can turn. Understanding two airways here is very important. One international airway was coming from Kazakhstan to India, on which Flight 1907 was traveling. The second airway is called G452, Gulf 452 in radio language, which connects India and China to Gulf countries, and Saudi Airlines was to travel from Delhi to Jeddah on this route. These two airways cross each other above Haryana, and this location is called Lanka Waypoint. This point is approximately 328 kilometers west of Delhi Airport. Any plane traveling on these two airways that needs to land in Delhi comes onto another smaller airway from Lanka Waypoint, called the Delhi Star. At 6:23 p.m., when Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 reached Lanka Waypoint, its crew contacted Delhi ATC and requested permission to come onto the Delhi Star route. At that time, their altitude was 25,000 feet, and Delhi ATC gave them clearance for flight level 200, meaning 20,000 feet. Now Flight 1907 descended from the international airway onto Delhi Star and began reducing its altitude. At exactly that time, at 6:32 p.m., Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 flight SV-763 took off with Delhi Air Traffic Controller's permission. Its captain was 44-year-old Khalid al-Shubaili. The first officer was 39-year-old Nazir Khan, and the flight engineer was 36-year-old Ahmed Idris. This Saudi Airlines crew was completely fresh and was flying their first flight after 70 hours of rest. After takeoff, ATC gave the Saudi plane clearance to climb to 10,000 feet. At that time, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 was 137 kilometers away from the airport. It's important to understand that now Saudi Airlines also had to go from Delhi Star route to Lumka waypoint, and Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 was also on Delhi Star heading toward Delhi International Airport. Both flights crews were talking to the same controller at Delhi ATC, whose name is said to be VK Dutta. To prevent these two planes from colliding, VK Dutta's job was to keep both at different altitudes on the Delhi Star flight path. At 6:34 p.m., Dutta gave the Kazakhstan plane permission to descend to 15,000 feet. At that time, they were 100 kilometers from Delhi. 2 minutes later, at 6:36, Dutta gave the Saudi plane, which was previously at 10,000 feet, clearance to 14,000 feet. Both were on the same flight path, on Delhi Star, facing each other. With a 1,000-foot separation, at 6:38 p.m., the Saudi crew informed Dutta that they had reached 14,000 feet and requested permission to climb higher. But since the Kazakhstan plane was going to pass above them from the opposite direction with a 1,000-foot separation, VK Dutta ordered the Saudi plane to remain at 14,000 feet for now. To this, the Saudi plane's first officer replied, "Saudi SV-763 will maintain 140, meaning 14,000 feet. Hey, it's very important to know one thing about the Kazakhstan Airlines crew. It included a 44-year-old captain, 36-year-old first officer, 50-year-old flight engineer, 51-year-old navigator, and most importantly, a 41-year-old radio operator. This flight had a radio operator because the entire crew only knew Russian, while internationally, ATC instructions are given in English. The radio operator's job was to translate English instructions into Russian. At 6:39 p.m., the Kazakhstan plane reported that they had descended to 15,000 feet. At that time, VK Dutta told them, "Identified traffic 12 o'clock reciprocal Saudi Boeing 747 at 10 miles, likely to cross in another 5 miles, report if in sight." This meant that directly in front of you, a Saudi Airlines Boeing 747 is coming in the opposite direction, approximately 10 nautical miles, 18.5 kilometers, away, and will likely cross your path in the next 5 nautical miles. If you see it, report. But the Kazakhstan Airlines radio operator didn't properly understand this message and asked for clarification. To which Dutta said, "Traffic is at 8 miles, level 140. Meaning the plane is 8 nautical miles away and its altitude is 14,000 feet. To this, the radio operator said, "Acknowledge the update, now looking 1907, meaning he had noted the information." Not even half a minute had passed since this message when another message came to ATC. A U.S. Air Force cargo flight was also in the same area. It informed Delhi ATC that they had seen a huge explosion ahead of them. Dutta immediately tried to contact the Saudi and Kazakhstan flights, but there was no response from either side. Tragically, both planes had collided. The left wing of the Kazakhstan plane hit the left wing of the Saudi plane, and both wings were severed in the middle. The Boeing 747 began spinning downward, fire coming from its severed wing, and the plane broke into 2 pieces in the air and crashed at supersonic speed in Dani village, Haryana. The Kazakhstan Airlines Aviation went into a flat spin with half a wing and half a vertical stabilizer and crashed in Byroha village, Haryana. In this horrific and heart-wrenching accident, not a single person among the 349 people on both planes survived. News of this accident plunged the entire world into mourning. Headlines began running on local and international media, and everyone had one question. When there was a 1,000-foot separation between them, how did they collide? Investigations revealed that at 6:39 p.m., when the Kazakhstan plane reported to ATC that they were at 15,000 feet, they were actually at 16,348 feet and continuously descending. The 15,000-foot message was either incorrectly conveyed by the radio operator or not properly understood by the captain. But when they were supposed to reach 15,000 feet and maintain that altitude, the captain brought the plane down to 14,000 feet, the same level as the Saudi plane. It's also possible that the Kazakhstan pilot heard the 15,000-foot instruction, but perhaps didn't understand that they needed to stop there. And on the other hand, it was taking time for the radio operator to translate the English message into Russian. When Dutta clearly stated that the Saudi Airlines plane was ahead of them, the radio operator didn't understand this message the first time. He understood the second time, but by the time that message reached the pilot and necessary adjustments could be made, it was too late. Investigations also revealed some mistakes by ATC. Because when two planes are on the same flight path in opposite directions, there should be a 2,000-foot separation between them, whereas Dutta had officially maintained only a 1,000-foot separation. Furthermore, at that time, Delhi ATC's radar showed the distance between planes, but there was no system installed to determine their altitude. This accident led to several new regulations in the aviation industry. One of them is the mandatory use of TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System. This is a system that automatically protects the plane from collision. After this accident, having TCAS became mandatory in all large commercial aircraft. In addition, after this accident, the International Civil Aviation Organization also made complete proficiency in English mandatory for all pilots, and new radar systems were installed at international airports around the world, including India, which show not only the distance of planes, but also their altitude. I hope you will also like this ZMTV video. Don't forget to like and share the video. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.